So the recent news is that the former Prime Minister of Australia had sworn himself secretly into a number of cabinet ministries, including without telling the incumbent ministers. Now, I'm not interested in the politics involved in that. I'm not interested in whether there was a good reason for him to swear himself into other ministries, or whether there was a good reason to keep it quiet. To me, this is just another example of how the current Australian Constitution is completely inadequate at protecting the interests of Australian citizens. My name is Brett Manning. I'm trustee of the new Aussie Constitution Trust. The new Aussie Constitution is a draft proposed replacement for the current Australian Constitution that's been developed outside of government and outside of political parties. So let's unpack what this is all about. Under the Australian system of government, ministers are appointed to look after important portfolios of government. And under the Westminster Conventions, each minister is responsible for their area of government operations. And the Australian Parliament passes laws that give specific rights to ministers to make decisions. And under the Westminster system, those ministers are personally responsible for those decisions. And in theory, if they make a mistake or there's some scandal with the performance of their department, they are expected to resign. The responsibility sheets home to the minister. Now, this is just like a ship's captain. If the ship runs aground, the captain's still liable, even if he or she wasn't on the bridge at the time. And so it should be with ministers. That's the Westminster system. Unfortunately, this Westminster system is a convention, which means it's a set of rules that everybody's supposed to follow. But those rules can be broken, and there is absolutely no recourse under the Australian Constitution. So if you breach the Australian Constitution, then the Australian courts can act and rectify those circumstances. But if it's not written in the Constitution, because it's a convention, it's something you're supposed to do, there is no comeback. And so yet again we see a situation where, in this case, the Prime Minister has broken with the Westminster Convention, and even worse, hasn't told anybody about it. Now, in this case, not much damage done. But the reality is that those same conventions are right through our system of government, and our Constitution fails to provide the sort of protections that we should have on how our country operates and how our government operates. Now, what worries me is that the current government is proposing a change to the Australian Constitution to deliver the voice to Parliament. And while I support that change, their approach for making this change to the Constitution is absolutely minimal. And it basically gives all the power to the Parliament and future Parliaments to decide how that all will operate. All of it. There is almost no qualification in their proposal that we would be voting on to decide whether we wanted to have an Indigenous voiced Parliament in the Constitution. Now, I support that proposal, but I want to know what I'm voting for, and I want to know that future governments can't just come along and change what that looks like entirely. If we go to another Labor government, successive Labor government after this one, they have pledged to take the issue of Australia becoming a republic to the voters in the next term. And the danger is that they'll take the same approach to the changes to the Constitution, where they will look at minor amendments and give all the rights to the Parliament to decide how things will operate. This means it can change any time in the future. It means you don't know what you're voting for. And worst of all, it leaves all the problems that are in the current Constitution, which was written 121 years ago. The Australian Constitution needs to be replaced, and we need to know the exact wording that we are voting for. And this little fiasco should be ringing alarm bells right across Australian society. We need a constitution that sets down the basic rules of how things actually operate. And we need to know what the details of that constitution are going to be before we make a decision to change. The new Aussie Constitution is a full, complete draft of a proposed replacement constitution. It's available for discussion. You can give us input. We're listening. But at least you would know, with the new Aussie Constitution, what it is you're voting for. And at least it has specific details about how the government will operate that can't be changed every time we have a change of government. The basic rules need to be in place, locked down in the Constitution, where it can't be changed and where it can be enforced by the courts. For more information about the new Aussie Constitution, please visit the website at www.newaussieconstitution.com.au. Feel free to comment on this video or to leave your suggestions at the website. We look forward to receiving your input, and thanks for your time.